welcome back to my channel. My name is Anita. I'm working on the next page in my Week in the Life album for 2026, which will be this page protector here, which is a 4x6 and a 4x6. The flip album that I'm working in does not have a page protector that has the 2x2 configuration. So I'm taking this one and I'm going to make my own 2x2s, but what I'm going to do is a 4x4 on each side on the front and the back, and then have 2x2s down the side, so four of them. And I'm just going to stitch in between those. I may stitch across as well. If I do decide to do that, the ones on the bottom, this one and this one, would be enclosed in there, and that's okay. I don't plan to take them out at any point, so that's fine. But if I can get away with getting the 2x2s in there without having to stitch, I will probably do that. Or it's possible I might just stitch the photos and the cards that I choose to use together and then slip them in. We'll see when I get to making it how it turns out. I do have everything printed for the rest of the album. I have this page and then one more page coming up, which will be a gratitude page. So this is for the gratitude, this and this, but I've already printed them and have them ready to go. And I will be making vellum pockets for that gratitude card. I also made some labels and little flowers for those. So that will be in the next video, and I will show the Photoshop process and everything for that. For this page that I'm doing today, I have my journaling printed on this 1-2 card, which I will cut out. I also printed off the this cards and have a photo on these photos that will have a photo inside. So I've printed a small photo for going in there for each day. And then I have my 3 4x4 photos. So that'll be that plus the card. And then I've printed 6 2x2s for each day, as well as I also took advantage and printed the large photo. So these will be the last in behind the gratitudes page in the next video. So everything is printed and ready to go. I'm going to jump into Photoshop first, show you my templates that I did for my photos and for the cards. And then I will come down to my desk and cut things out, put it together, and then I'll come back at the end and show the final result. I'll see you in Photoshop. So we're in Photoshop Elements, and this is the template that I created. You'll see underneath of the cards, it's just squares, rectangles, whatever the size I needed. And I'll just mask in my papers and my cards. So for each one, the papers, and you'll see on the gratitude cards, I've upped the brightness of them. I think I mentioned in my last video, when you print them out just as they are, they're kind of brown, and I didn't want that. I wanted a nice, crisp, kind of grayish, bright grayish color. So I just bumped up the brightness, and that got it to where I needed it to be. And then I'm just going through my workflow here where my template's already finished and I'm just adding in the next day. So the paper I added in first and masked that into that rectangle. And then I'm now just bringing in the gratitudes card and putting that in its space, which it doesn't need to be masked. It's the correct size as it is. And same with the 1-2 card. I don't need to mask it. I'm just bringing in the card as it is. It's the correct size. And then you will see me, I will adjust it just a little bit. I need to make sure that it's far enough to the left that the journaling won't get cut off when I print it. I do print these as borderless, just to make sure that there is enough space there that the journaling doesn't get cut off. And then I'm just adding in my journaling here into the journaling blocks that I created. I thought I had recorded my other photo templates, but I apologize. I don't have them recorded for some reason, and I didn't go back and do it. Um, but it's the same process as always, just making the sizes that I needed. I did do a little template for these cards here for the photo that fits just inside of them. So I don't have the exact measurements in front of me, but each person's would be different depending on what you do with your cards. So just you would just use the measurements that you have. So here I'm just cutting out these cards. There's one for each day, and that will go. These two, these are size at 2 by 2, so those will go into that page protector. And then you'll see the other things that need to get cut out in the background there. I will do those when I go to start the other page. And then on this one, all I need is that 1, 2 card. And you'll see I did print these first. Well, I printed them twice. The first time I printed them, my journaling was a little too far over to the right. On my first template that I had done, and I had redone my template just to make it so that the card could go over to the left just a little bit and not cut off the journaling. So here I'm just going to put everything into page protectors and make sure that they all fit nicely, which they did, making sure that my journaling card is the same size as my photos before I start cutting everything up. And then I'll just go through and cut all my photos. I'll put you on fast forward here with some music while I do the cutting. So I have everything cut out and I've organized them into each of the page protectors. The next thing I'm going to do is stitch down the length of my page protector. I didn't mention before, but I didn't have to stitch. I could have used a fuse tool, if you know what that is. It just essentially melts the plastic of the page protector and seals the page protector. I've used it multiple times in the past, but I kind of wanted to add the little extra texture of the stitching on these pages. So that's why I chose to stitch, but there are other options. Right here, I'm just checking to make sure everything fits and realize that I do need just a little bit more space in between the 2 by 2s and the 4 by 4s just to make sure that the stitching doesn't hit any of the cards and that there's enough space to slide them in and out. So I am losing a little bit of my white border around my photos, but in the end, it's not going to matter. I'm not going to notice it that much, I don't think. So here I'm just making sure that they're both the same size, they line up nicely. And then I'll add in the 2 by 2 again, I think, just to make sure, one last time to make sure that they all fit. So the front side is going to have this one photo as well as the journaling card. And then on the back side will be 2 4 by 4 photos. And then I'm just going to take a sticky note here and make a little template for the 2 by 2s, just so that in case I make a mistake, I'm not sewing through my actual cards, especially those transparency ones. The paper ones, obviously, I can reprint, but I didn't want to wreck my plastic squares. So I just did the little Post-it note here. So it's the 2 by 2 size. So there you can see there's a little gap, and that's exactly where I'm going to sew. I'm just going to line up my needle in that gap and sew a straight line down. So the stitching turned out well. I'm just going to tie my threads off here. I could have back stitched, but sometimes I find my machine messes up in the back stitching and will make a big mess essentially. So I usually choose to just knot it off instead and then just cut it fairly close. That usually keeps it fairly secure, so good enough. So once I have those threads tied off, I'm just going to add my photos and cards in the places that I want them. And I also need to trim those photos for the back to match the front ones that I had trimmed earlier. Again, I'm losing some of the border, but in the end, I don't think it'll matter. They still match each other, so it looks intentional. I did trim a little off the top and the bottom, I believe, as well, just to make the border seem or to make it more even. Yeah, I did do the tops and the bottoms. This is a couple of weeks later that I'm doing the voiceover. Um, I had these finished a couple of weeks ago, but had gone on vacation and didn't have a chance to finish up the videos before I left. Um, so here I'm just adding in the 2x2s. I chose to take some scotch tape to tape these together. You'll see that here in a sec, right here. So obviously on the photos, it doesn't matter. You're not going to see the tape. I was concerned that you'd be able to see it on the plastic ones, but you can't at all. And if you do have these plastic ones and haven't done your album yet, don't forget that there is a film on there to take off. I just saw myself take that off. Um, I feel like I might have forgotten a couple along the way and had to go back and do them, but that's par for the course. I always tend to do that. And then here you'll see that this card, I've added the photo on there, just with a little rolling adhesive. And then I'm also going to take each of the now 2x4s and adhere them back to back as well with a little rolling adhesive, just so that they don't, just to make them more secure, so they're not all falling apart inside. And this way they'll just stay nice and straight. Once I get all this done, I will do a little flip through for you of all the pages that are all together. All right, the pages are completed. Just do a little flip through to show you how they turned out. So the start of each one is the day card. That's a plastic 2x2, as well as the journaling, which I don't think I mentioned before. The journaling either is of a specific photo or just general journaling for the day. I didn't do each one the same. And then the back is two 4x4s, the three 2x2s, and this card with that tiny photo. And this is Tuesday. So they're all in the same format. And it turned out very well. Like I said, you could use the fuse tool if you wanted instead of the stitching, but the stitching seems to be working fairly well. I did cover a few photos just because there are people that probably aren't going to want their faces on the internet. I also did a few screenshots during the week. These ones are covered because they're banking info, but I like adding things like where we're at in our mortgage and things like that in my week in the life album, and usually include some prices of things as well. But that would be the Saturday. And then I just wanted to show you Sunday. Sunday, I still have to stitch. I wanted to show you the difference. So if I were to not stitch this or fuse it, or tape, this is kind of what happens in your album when you're moving stuff around. Now, I could take, and I do this with Project Life quite often, if you don't have a fuse tool, don't have a sewing machine or things like that, I just wanted to show you what else you can do. If I had these 2x2s, I'm going to take these ones apart if I can. I've got them taped together already. It's okay. So pretend these aren't taped together. You can just stick these beside and tape them on the back, and that makes a full 4x6. And then you're able to put it into your page protector like this. obviously just slip it in, but they would be attached and then they wouldn't move so much. These would be attached to this. So if it moves, it'd be the whole card moving. And when I do that, I usually would make this just a tad bit bigger, like an eighth of an inch even, just so that it fits more snugly in the pocket. Mine, I had cut down, if you remember a little bit, so that I would have that gap to be able to stitch. But I just wanted to show you that because as I was stitching, I'm thinking some people don't have a fuse tool or don't sew either. So I just wanted to give you an alternative in case if that was the case. So that would be how I would handle that if I didn't have one or the other. And that's it for these pages. I have one page left. It's that gratitude page. So that will be in my next video, as well as I'd like to cover the album, or I will be covering the album. I'm not sure I'm going to do that right away. I have some other projects I'd like to work on. So when I do that, I will make sure to video it and put it in this playlist as well. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.